before getting into any sort of practice problems, I do want to cover this right now. Don't skip over this video, watch this explanation. If need be, watch it twice. Okay, so say if we have a scenario where a rock is being dropped off of a 85-meter high cliff. I'm going to call this perspective 1 and perspective 2 of this happening. So let's say this. Let's say that your buddy over here, he's on a cliff and he's saying to you, hey, check me out. I'm up on a cliff. I'm going to drop this rock. And you're all the way down here and you're observing this. You're saying, hey, look, that's a really high cliff right there. So what would you say is the initial height of the object? Okay, it's 85 meters high. And all the way down here, when it hits the ground, what would you say is the final height of the object? Well, if it's hitting the ground, wouldn't it make sense that it's 0 meters high? Okay, so that's perspective number 1. What about perspective number 2? How could I change this right now? Well, say if your buddy over here, he's saying, hey, check me out. I'm about to drop this rock off of a cliff. And instead, you're now on a little red boat saying to yourself, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, check me out. I'm on a boat. And your buddy's like, hey, check me out. Once again, I'm going to drop this rock off this cliff. Hey, you know what? We could call it even a hole. So, what would you say is the initial height of the object now? Keeping in mind that this is ground level. Okay, this is now 0 meters high. And what would you say the final height of the object is as it hits the bottom of this hole or the bottom of this cliff? Negative 85 meters. Okay, so I'm just going to take this away. Now, what is the benefit of this? In a lot of cases, when you're given the initial height, I would actually just prefer to look at it in this perspective rather than this perspective over here. Same if you're actually dropping an object out of a window or you are on top of a building, you know the height of the window that you're dropping the object out of or the height of the building that you're dropping something off of. And when you're given that, I would actually just look at perspective 1 over here as opposed to perspective 2 because I don't like the idea that you might forget this negative sign here and that'll actually put you into a lot of trouble. I don't like that. Okay, well, how about this? Say if we weren't given the initial height and this is what we're trying to find. Okay, well, that's fine for this situation because we actually do have the idea that it's going to be hitting the ground and we actually do have a given piece of information that it's 0 meters. But say if over here, hey, you know what? Once again, let's say this. Let's say that the object is up here. And we're trying to find the final height now. Well, we don't have the initial height. We don't have the initial height and we don't have the final height, so this is no good. Whereas if we do look at it like this in this perspective and we're trying to find out the final height maybe after it drops for a certain amount of seconds, at least when we're looking at it like this, where we don't have the height, we at least have a given piece of information that the initial height will be 0. In this situation, hey, you know what? If you're actually saying, hey, this building is a certain amount of meters off of the ground, I don't know what that number is. Well, so this is an unknown piece of information, and this is an unknown piece of information. And if we actually aren't given another piece of information in the problem, we won't be able to solve it. But with this perspective in mind, if you're not given height, you can at least say that the initial height of the object is 0 and it's going to drop down a certain amount. In a lot of situations, you will calculate this out and you will get a negative height for how much it actually does drop. So those are the two different perspectives. Whenever you're actually given a certain height, I would actually just say, hey, you know what? This initial height is 85 meters. If you're not given a height, I would actually just say that it's 0 meters and it's just going to drop down a certain amount. So given a certain height, say that's the initial height. If you're not given an initial height, say that the initial height is 0.